But I think what Legends has created is when you walk in, you're somebody as soon as you come in the door. And nobody becomes invisible at Legends. And there's so many people that get lost at boxing gyms, at other fighting gyms, because they're not gonna be the next big thing. But at Legends just takes everybody in, and you become a part of the tribe instantly. And that's the vibe I got when I started coming out here more often.
Hey guys, welcome to the Legends Boxing Podcast. I am super excited to have the guest in-house today, Paul Mendoza. This is actually going to be a great experience for me. It's going to be a lot of learning for me, even though that I've known Paul and known of Paul for many, many, many years, like 20 plus years, I would say. Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about him. He's actually, you're really good friends with Rob. And so I wanted to take a little time to introduce him a little bit, and then have him do most of the talking, guys. So Paul's been in the combat sports industry for 40 plus years. I don't know how that is. I mean, you'd have to be like 60, right? If it's 40 plus years. He doesn't look that old to be in the industry like that long, but over 40 years he's been in the combat sports industry. He's had over 35 years of teaching experience. How many fights have you had competitively?
Gosh, man. Yeah, that's another thing that probably I couldn't even count. I couldn't even count how many times.
Well, ranged from different kinds of combat sports, right? Yeah. From like Muay Thai, kickboxing to boxing.
Muay Thai, kickboxing, karate, jiu-jitsu. Those were all most of my my competitions. Majority of my competitions were professional karate, growing up, karate tournaments, and later on becoming a professional. And so that was the bulk of my competition. Got into jiu-jitsu, did kickboxing, Muay Thai, thumb wrestling, checkers. I mean, any way I can find a fight, I was always doing that.
Now, where are you? He's out here visiting, guys. I'm going to let him do most of the talking. I'm just really excited. I hope you guys can feel it. But you're visiting us today. You're going to be doing, I know you're doing a clinic for us today.
Coach's clinic today.
That's awesome. Where do you come from? Where are you at?
I'm originally from Oakland, California. Moved to Modesto, California, which is about maybe an hour and a half from San Francisco or Oakland. So it's considered, Central Valley, and 5 hours away from, Los Angeles. So I was basically raised there, spent there mid-70s all the way until now. So I'm 52 now. Started martial arts pretty young.
That's crazy, man. You don't look 52.
Oh, man. I feel 66. I feel 66.
Well, this sport has a tendency to do that to us no matter what. So what are you doing out in Modesto currently right now?
So I own I owned one of the largest MMA gyms in Northern California. It was called Dynamic MMA. And we actually started that, my wife and I actually started that out of our little garage in 1995. It was actually called Dynamic Karate at the time. And we started there, just 15 students, and we just kept growing it in 95, 90, 96, 97. We opened our first commercial building, 2,000 square feet. From there, 2005, we moved to another building, 4,000 square feet. In 2010, we grew it to 8,200 square feet. And by the time I sold most of the gym, in 2020, we were running 8,200 square feet. We had 365 members, from Muay Thai to kids karate to boxing, kickboxing, MMA, fitness classes. We had a fitness boxing class. And so it was a full service MMA gym. And I recently sold it just to focus on our fitness boxing program, which is called Fighter Fit.
Okay.
And so that's what we do now.
Nice. How long have you been doing the Fighter Fit?
So I started Fighter Fit in 2004. Okay. And at the time, Taibo was kind of just still kind of a big thing. Mm-hmm. Around that time, everything was cardio kickboxing. So I remember getting some Taibo tapes because I knew how to do it. Everybody was doing it. Everybody's karate taekwondo school had some kind of cardio kickboxing. So I got my mom's, Fighter Fit, Taibo Taibo tapes, learned it, had about 5 women, 1 more, and 2 more, and kick and punch and kick. And I remember kind of doing it, and looking in the mirror, kind of catching myself after like maybe second class, and I just like, I'm sorry, ladies, I just can't do this, and so I was doing a fighter program. I was training my fighters. MMA was still so young at the time, and it was illegal in California. We had to go to Indian reservations to fight MMA, and that's where I really understood the business of it, get involved in MMA. But so I just rolled the bags out because we had those water bags, and I'm like, let's just do this. And I trained them how I trained my fighters, how I trained, and they liked it. So next thing you know, my fighters were training, women are training, my wife was training, everybody's training, and we're like, let's just do this. And I just decided to call it Fighter Fit, and it's just been a great program ever since.
It sounds like it. I think I hope I'm not wrong in this, but I think that Fighter Fit program was a lot of inspiration for Rob to do what he did by bringing it to XSI and kind of seeing that kind of same thing that you were doing there. So, a lot of history here, you guys, a lot of history. So when did you meet Rob? I know that was a long, long time ago.
It's about 2000.
Oh, 2000, wow, okay.
Yeah, we met actually. My best friend was with me in martial arts and later became a professional paintball player. He opened up a paintball field in Modesto.
Is this Rich?
Yeah, Rich Telford.
Rich Telford, yeah.
And he opened up a paintball field in Modesto, so obviously I'm playing there, and we would go out there and we'd play out this one small little town outside of Modesto called Waterford. Mm-hmm. And I seen Rob playing paintball there. And we just absolutely, from the first day we met, just absolutely hated each other. I seen him and I just wanted to punch him in the face, I'm sure you understand that.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that feel that exact same thing, man.
And, and it was just like this, spy versus spy, like every time I show up and we'd show up and it was like, Cleans was like, we were looking at each other and we paintball guns, we're chasing each other. And then Robert started a paintball team and I jumped on it. And then after that, we just traveled the country and started playing and we became friends. And so his first ex-wife, Kayla, actually started training karate at my school with his kids. Mm-hmm. They're all training karate, and she became one of my karate students and one of my karate black belts.
I remember this.
And so, so I was doing Fighter Fit, and so she was doing Fighter Fit, and so Robert was there, and we boxed a couple of times, and so we have go way back.
Yeah, you guys really, really do. Now, for you guys who haven't watched our first couple of episodes, which I highly encourage you to go back and watch the first 2. Our second episode is me interviewing Rob, and so this is, you'll find out that Rob and I are brothers, and so we grew up very near to Paul. I've known Paul for a long time, like I said, but we weren't really friends. I didn't play paintball a lot. I didn't start boxing or any of that stuff back then, back in Modesto. But for those who have ever heard of Modesto, it's not the safest and nicest place to live. So I'm not unfamiliar with it, but I do remember hearing a lot about you from Rob and a lot about him because I used to work for Twisted Paintball. Rob opened up a retail store in Modesto called Twisted Paintball, and I used to work for them. And so I heard of all of these people in the paintball industry. So that's why I know who Rich Tilford is and you and the Ironmen, so the California Ironmen and all these guys. And so what I do remember hearing is right around that time frame, not too far afterwards, is that you had gotten into a pretty serious motorcycle accident. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was actually 2001. And I was going to have lunch with Robert. And I lived maybe a couple miles away from his paintball shop. I was driving down kind of the busy street, and I was doing maybe about 35 miles an hour. And an 82-year-old man was parked on the side of the street and decided to try to make a U-turn across the street. And I just punched the side of his truck, mid-sized truck, hit the door frame with my head, went in through the windshield, and then got wrapped up underneath the car or the truck. and by the time people got to me, I wasn't breathing. And then, by the time the police had got to me, the law enforcement officer, luckily the motorcycle cop was maybe a block or two away, and he got to me, and I had already been not breathing for a minute and a half.
Man.
So he pulled me out, and as soon as I rolled over, he went to take my helmet off to give me CPR, and he just heard me go, and just take a breath. I remember waking up. At the time, my wife was actually a 911 dispatcher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was a 911 dispatcher. So when they called 911, she actually answered the 911 call. And it was, hey, this guy's not breathing. And so, she didn't know it was me, but she knew it was me. Mm-hmm. And so, so then, I remember waking up a couple of times and telling them that, hey, my wife's, works 911. I would go back, pass out. And so they called her. And by the time I got to hospital, she was already there. So, it was very, your wife has to dispatch 911 to your husband who's not breathing.
Right.
So, it was, very scary for her.
Yeah, it was. Talk to us a little bit about that road of recovery.
Well, that was the other thing. I learned so much about, I think, in life. I broke everything. I split my throat open. My hand got wrapped all the way around. Punctured my lung, broke all my ribs. Actually, I was really lucky. Right after that, a friend of mine, his friend passed away in a motorcycle accident. And since then, I hear just numerous people all the time. And so, I broke everything. I was in a wheelchair. And the pain of it was incredible. But I think what I got out of it more was really my problems aren't that bad. There was a huge depression I had because, they said I might not be able to walk, like I run as like I used to. And surely fighting was not going to be very easy for me because my hand got twisted so far around and I had pins and everywhere. And so, the depression sat in. I probably went from 175 to 230. I was actually getting ready for a karate championship in Tahoe 2 days before the fight. And I just was sat at home, just, horrible depression. And I was running a karate school at the time, and that had about 150 people, and it was starting to grow. And I couldn't be there. So I had people trying to help me out. We went from 150 to 65. Right after I get done, my wife tells me we're having a baby. And then everything really sets in. I mean, it was just, man, like my whole world just flipped upside down instantly. We had just bought a house 2 weeks into it. And our world just flipped. And it was a hard road recovery. But, the bottom line is that, there's way more people that had way worse than me. So, just be thankful of what I had. So it was something to work through, but, determination and having good people around you really helped.
Absolutely. And I remember this had to have been 2012. So, 8 years after this had happened in your recovery. So talk about going back to, fighting and the chances of that. And you'll probably never do that again or probably never walk right. Well, I remember watching you spar. You came out to Utah to come out just to visit. And this was back before we were ever legends. And it was XSI boxing. And we were still down in the very far corner and we had the big full-size ring. Yeah. And you were just sparring just to have some fun. And in the 2 rounds that I saw you spar, I learned so much. And I still remember to this day just how easy it was for you to just throw these hooks to the body. So for those who are starting boxing and listen to this, you all know that it's not just that easy to hit body shots, and it's just not that easy to throw hooks, and just the how fluid they were, how quick it was, how just confident those punches coming off were. I still, to this day, I can just picture it in my head and watching those body shots come in.
The thing about that is, I think that's the beautiful thing about it, because people, it's almost like a magic trick, because when a magician shows you the trick, you realize actually how easy it is. But it's when you watch the magician do it, it looks difficult. But when he shows you the trick, you're like, oh, okay, like, all right, that was really easy. So I think sometimes, for when you first start, like now when you're an accomplished boxer yourself. So now when you see things so much different, than you did when you first started. I started boxing. My first boxing match, I was 6 years old.
Wow.
I lived in Vallejo. We moved from Vallejo to Oakland. And across the street from my house was a Boys and Girls Club. So one day my mom and I were walking, and we walked past this Boys and Girls Club gym. And I remember going in there and hearing the ba 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 ba, and that sound is so beautiful. The speed bag. And the smell of sweat and leather, like it's this awesome smell of sweat and leather.
And cinder block.
Yeah. And I was like, I love it. I just love it. So my first boxing match when I was 6 years old. Then we moved out to Modesto, and my mom took me to see a Bruce Lee movie. And I was like, this guy's a superhero. He's fighting 12 guys at one time. This is awesome. I want to be that. And so I started Kempo at 8. I started karate at 12, and when I started karate at my karate school, that's where everything kind of really took off. Prior to that, I was in a lot of trouble as a kid. I was dyslexic. I couldn't read very good. I didn't know my left from my right. And I was in resource classes, and that was really humiliating in a lot of ways because. The resource teacher had to come get me out of class and pick me up and then take me. So if everybody was on book 6, I'm on book 2. I met my wife when I was 16. She was like 14 or something like that. And even later on at 19, I remember we're doing flashcards, times tables, because I couldn't, do math. I would get a book to read to her at night, because I couldn't read very well at 19, or 18, 19. So as a young kid, I learned that if I just beat everybody up, they won't make fun of me, So I'm just trying to beat everybody up. No, let's not make fun of Paul. So one time this kid comes in, and he makes fun of my reading, because I actually had a stutter problem too. And so I stuttered, and he made fun of me, so I waited for him after school, and I'm gonna beat him up. And he kicks the crap out of me using karate, and then gives me a business card. And I went down there, and I wanted to learn how to fight. It's like, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna beat everybody up. So my teacher was like, okay, I'm gonna teach you the black belt move after class. All right, great. So after class, I'm 12 years old. The black belt move, stand at attention, yes sir. Courtesy bow, that's your black belt move. And it turned into this complete journey of martial arts that took me from this. I still got into some trouble as a kid. I was definitely had a fast life between 13 and 17, but kind of led me to where I'm at now. So it's kind of a weird journey.
It's kind of the best of both worlds, though.
Yeah.
We grew up very similar in situations as far as surroundings. And so, again, for those who don't know about Modesto and Vallejo and Oakland and these areas, it's very easy to have a fast life between 13 and 17 years old and then some. It's very easy to get caught up in a bunch of trouble and find that kind of environment. But now you've been taught the ways, you've been seeing the ways. Now, talk to me a little bit about your involvement in Legends. When did that begin?
Well, me and Robert, once he left and moved to Utah, we always been talking, and I was traveling, competing in professional black belt karate tournaments, and I'd won four world titles doing that. And actually, I came back out of retirement after a motorcycle accident. I was kind of done, and we opened this 4,000 square foot gym and had some employees, and there was 3 things I wanted to do my whole life, which was I wanted to be a black belt, wanted to own my own gym, and I wanted to be a world champion. And I had 2 of them. I didn't have the other one. So when I was 36 years old, I decided to come back into fighting and professional karate. Boxing, kickboxing professionally, UFC, MMA was not going to happen. I was 35, 36 years old. So I started competition again. And my first season, I had to come to Utah. And I came out, and Robert was just kind of starting to, get this. He was going to this boxing gym, some little boxing gym in a warehouse or something. I think with his first coach. And he was doing insurance, and actually his insurance company sponsored me as that year. And so, he was just kind of starting to get into boxing, and I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, and then he told me, I think I'm going to open a gym up. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Everybody says that. Oh yeah, it's going to be, sure you are. Go ahead. And we were just throughout the years talking. And he's like, my brother's boxing. He's Golden Gloves boxing. Yeah, you guys go ahead and have a good time. Because in my head, I'm like, oh, how many people try to open gyms up, and and how many people, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm thinking Robert, your brother, yeah, all right. And then we opened a gym up, and I just kept, we opened another one up, and then I'm like, well, wait a minute, whoa. Then it's like, okay, these guys are doing something out there. And then so throughout the years, every year it was like, hey, we got another one opened up. And I became a fan, I just really became a fan of what you guys did. And fast forward to now, the culture that Legends have built, is amazing. And I think one of the things I really like about, what you guys have created was, I've been in so many gyms my whole life, and when you go to a traditional boxing gym, you are really almost just a rock somewhere in there until someone realizes that, oh, this guy might be something. Then you get attention. But I think what Legends has created is when you walk in, you're somebody as soon as you come in the door, and nobody becomes invisible at Legends. And there's so many people that get lost at boxing gyms, at other fighting gyms, because they're not going to be the next big thing. But at Legends just takes everybody in, and you become a part of the tribe instantly. And that's the vibe I got when I started coming out here more often.
I love that. I love that. And that's absolutely couldn't have been said better. That's the environment we want to provide. I mean, my first time ever stepping foot into a boxing gym, it was in a ring and getting the crap kicked out of me. And I can only imagine how many people never had the opportunity to learn boxing or take it to a level they wanted to because they didn't show up the next day after getting the crap kicked out of them the first time they walked into a boxing gym, or sitting off in a corner and nobody paid attention to them because they're too afraid to walk up to somebody else. It's an intimidating environment. And so I love that Legends took the intimidation out of boxing.
Oh, dude. And some, I think with training people, I've trained, karate champions, kickboxing, I've cornered in the UFC 4 times with fighters. I have a fighter who's underneath me. His fighter's fighting May 20th in UFC. And one of the things about training people is that people don't understand. It's like a diamond in coal. If you take that coal and you squeeze it too hard, you just crush it. But if you don't squeeze it hard enough, you really don't find that diamond in there. And I think what a really good coach does is a really good coach knows just enough right pressure to find that diamond. And what some coaches don't understand, and especially right now is the age of I need to find my one diamond to get me to the UFC or to get me to the big boxing show. And when people walk in and they tell me, oh, Paul, hey, I want to be in the UFC. I tell them, you might as well just tell me you want to be an astronaut. Or I just had a guy Friday I think it was. I want to be a professional boxer. I think if I get enough followers, I'll somebody will give me a big fight. Man, that's the world we live in now, where they took the work out of it. So what I did is I've cornered probably 200, almost 270 fights in MMA, kickboxing. And I got so burnt out of the big gym business. And really, honestly, really your brother kind of inspired me, because I was running this huge gym business. I just want to be in the UFC. I want to take fighters here, and I want to be, and the format that Legends had created was this thing I wanted. I wanted a spot where I can go where everybody is important. I'm not looking for the next big thing. And it took so much pressure off. So I sold my kickboxing, I sold my jiu-jitsu, I sold my MMA. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna focus on my fitness boxing program. And it was really based off of, watching what you guys have built. I've been doing this so I opened my first business at 1995. So 20, almost 30 years I've had my gym business. And I remember coming back every year, like, man, Robert and his brother, Andrew, they're opening another gym. I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'm in. And I sold everything, and I just wanted to focus on my fitness boxing program, and I'm really happy right now doing it, definitely less stress.
That's so great. That's so awesome, guys. Like, I appreciate you being here, man. I really do. Like, I've learned so much. I didn't know as much as I did, and now I do. And now he's even that much more awesome in my mind. He's always been an amazing guy. I've always been honored to know him and to learn from him. I know you're doing like weekly calls with Kylan, going over different stuff with him and giving him different tips.
He's
and
amazing.
He really has taken on the role of national head coach and just taken it to a completely different level. So thank you for your involvement. Thank you for everything. Like, thank you for this. Thanks for being here and putting your time forth. I really, truly appreciate you being here, man.
If there's thank you. Because you guys inspire me to, not just, be a better business person, but also you guys, really inspired. I think what you guys have done, is really change how I think boxing gyms are going to become later. Because especially in this area, because now a lot of these boxing gyms are following your guys' lead. And some of the things I've changed throughout the last, few years of watching you guys grow, and that was just an amazing thing, because people just in this industry don't just do what you guys do. You have people that will do it, but their coaches have been there for, 40 years, and you guys stepped in and created these waves and created this community that's just amazing. So, thank you for your inspiration.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Is there anything to the new person stepping into a boxing gym, no matter where it is, no matter where you guys are listening, you're thinking about boxing, it's intimidating, you've always wanted to do it. What's one thing you would say to that person right now if they were sitting here in this room to encourage them to go try it?
Good. I'm glad you asked me that, because I was talking about that in my class. Anybody that was thinking about coming in and working out at Legends, I encourage them in anything, don't be invisible. Sometimes what people want to do is they want to go back to the back of the classroom. They want to go to the farthest bag away, And we're here, we walk into our boxing gyms, our Legends gyms and our fighter fit. We walk in there because we want to make a change. We want to do things different than going to the spin class or going to the gym. So we have to put ourselves out there in front. Get out there in front of the coach. Be at the closest bag to the middle. Shine a little bit. Hiding is not going to get us where we want to go. So we all hear stepping out of our comfort zone. We have to step out of our comfort zone. Well, you kind of already did. When people first walk into Legends, they already stepped out of their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So guess what? Be a part of the challenges. Sometimes people don't want to do the challenges. I don't want to do the patch challenge. No, we have to. We have to immerse ourselves in the culture of Legends. Because when we do that, and you've seen this, you've seen someone come in that's completely shy. Maybe their fitness goals are not met, and next you know, they're up here, and next you know, they're coach and they're shining. Mm-hmm. That's because they didn't try to be invisible. So my advice to people is, don't be invisible. Go out there and shine.
Love it. I love it, you guys. You heard it right here from Paul Mendoza. Remember, it only stops because you stop. Okay, so don't ever stop. Don't ever quit. Get yourself in the gym. Don't be invisible, and make something of yourself. Make something happen inside the walls right here at Legends Boxing, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys.